So the jet lag is still kind of with me. It's taking a little bit longer.
You weren't gone that long.
Yeah, well, but usually I think the trip home is what really screwed me up, just because it took much longer than it should have, so I didn't really get into the right rhythm. So I'm of course, yesterday, all the buildup. Oh boy, this is going to be it. The big show is coming to the TVs.
This is the worst.
Yeah, we're going all the way. This is it. This is the impeachment hearing, and it was so hard for me to stay awake. Certainly the first hour, 2 hours, and I'm kind of dozing off, because of the jet lag. But I keep getting awakened by tweets. You can only guess what the tweets were from yesterday.
What?
Here we go.
What?
I'm going to read them to you.
Oh, great.
Read the transcript. The Dems voted. Where I just lost it now. Where was it?
Well, that was...
Read the transcript. The Dems voted to continue their impeachment sham. I need your input. Complete the impeachment poll now. All uppercase. Our all-new 2020 calendars have arrived. My amazing wife, Melania, handpicked each photo. Get one before they're gone. Yes.
Oh, they put it back into high gear.
Oh, yeah. 2 times match. No, listen to this.
Solicitations.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one. 2x match. Missing. Adam.
2x
missing.
Match. By who?
I don't know. The gods.
Who is the person doing this matching?
Missing. President Trump wants a list of all donors who step up during this impeachment hoax. Hurry! Donate in the next hour. President Trump, Adam, I noticed you didn't step up during the fake impeachment hearings. 3x match unlocked just for you for 1 hour. Donate now.
3x match.
Just for me. It's unlocked. The 3x match.
Just for you.
Just for me. So I'm reading this to the keeper last night. She says, did you donate? I said, no, this is the most insulting thing in the world. I wouldn't donate to anyone with this message. This is so horrible. But, man, they are pushing a 3x match.
This is all the fundraising for the Republicans.
And it's all Jared Kushner. That's part of the reason
you think it's Kushner behind the fundraising?
No, we talked about this. This is WinRed. That's the company that does all this now. That's Kushner's operation.
Dynamite. Because you know that most people are going to go, geez, he's good. And they're going to put money in there.
3x match. 3x match. Oh, no. Now,
so in other words, if I give $1, I've given $3. That's great. Sure.
So before we get into the...
By the way, before we go away from that.
Yeah, okay.
The Democrats use this too, and I've also seen it elsewhere. And I've seen it on some public radio, and I say, well, we have an unknown donor that's going to match everything, and unless we don't get to, if we get to 10,000, they'll double it. But it's like they never say who. There's a scam going on.
It must be. I mean, who's and it says 3x match. I mean, maybe some guy whose name is 3x is going to hand you a match. I mean, I don't know what this is. No, I find it highly sketchy. It should be investigated. And they use.
I think it should be. I think there's some things. Yeah.
And they use Bitly links.
It sounds illegal to me.
They use Bitly links, which I don't like either. So, of course, I did watch this thing, sadly. But it was crap weather. It was freezing here. Actually got a little warmer today, but we've had 29 degrees overnight. It's bad.
Yikes.
Yes.
That's
yikes
Port Angeles weather.
So some of the lead up to this was, and I really have reactions and some things. I saw you have a couple of clips. I don't know what they are, but we'll get to those. And I can always count on you for bringing it. But first, I didn't
bring anything. I couldn't get good clips.
Yeah, you brought what you could. I knew you would bring something.
I did bring something.
Bill Moyers was on the Brian Seltzer.
I saw this. This guy's an idiot.
He's on the Brian Seltzer show on CNN.
No, really? Because he was on Democracy Now! And his big thing is PBS should shut down its programming put the debate, the impeachment hearings on 24/7.
Well, he kind of contradicts that statement in his conversation with the Seltzer kid. And of course, that's a media show, so talking about the media. And what I found most interesting is that they are discussing amongst themselves, and I presume he considers himself a journalist, yeah? A journalist, a newsman? What is he?
Yeah, he's been a broadcast news guy mainly
but a journalist.
For 50 years. He's really an old-timer.
Yeah. So they're sitting there explaining.
But he's a very, very progressive left-winger. He's always been.
Yeah, and what they're sitting there discussing is how it's their responsibility it goes a little bit beyond informing, surprise, surprise, not just reporting, but, and as we know, the pod's honest truth, it happens on podcasts all the time. It usually gets edited out of the mainstream things. In this case, it was left in, as the truth always wants to come out.
On the eve of another impeachment inquiry, hearings this week, do you fear for the country?
For the first time in my long life, and I was born in the Depression, lived through World War II, have been a part of politics and government for all these years now. Yes, for the first time, because a society, a democracy can die of too many lies. And we're getting close to that terminal moment unless we reverse the obsession with lies that are being fed around the country.
So will people care this week? Will democracy hold up through this process?
Some people will always care. And we have to remember that we need to serve those people who will get up in the morning and watch the hearings, will come home at night and watch the hearings, because they really want to be confused. They want to understand. They want to cut through
the confusion.
The lie.
They want to be confused.
They want to be confused.
They really want to be confused. They want to be. They want to understand.
Save him,
cut
Brian.
through.
Save
through
him.
the confusion.
The lies. So we have to be concerned with them. Then we have to think about, how do we reach the people who don't care?
How do we reach them? How do we let them know about the lies? They want to be confused. Yes, that's exactly right. Just want to be confused. Confusing statements such as Eric Swalwell, who we haven't heard from.
That's my clip.
No, this is a clip before the impeachment.
Oh, Swalwell's a douche. It's unbelievable.
Well,
he looks like one too. That's what's interesting.
We have discussed many times that ambassadors are appointees, they're political appointees, but they're typically high-end donors and bundlers. And,
that's only in the choice spots.
Yeah. Oh, in the choice spots, sure.
The professional foreign service people, they're in the places like Ethiopia.
Right. Then Ukraine, I guess, that's not a choice spot, is it? That's a bad spot to be, perhaps.
It depends on if you like vodka or not.
So Swalwell has a different view of these appointees.
How important is a quid pro quo, period, in order for you to make your case in an article of impeachment?
It's an abuse of power to remove an ambassador for political reasons because you don't like what they're doing.
They're appointed for political reasons, but okay.
What an idiot.
Period. It's a gross abuse of power if you ask a political ally like the Ukrainians to investigate your opponent. It's a gross, extreme abuse of power if you leverage a White House meeting, which may not seem like much to us as Americans, but to other countries, that's the most important thing you can get. It's an extraordinary abuse of power if you if you remove an ambassador the way that.
I see. He tried to say unlawfully, but even he can't justify saying that.
Unlawful, or if you remove an ambassador the way the president did, ask for investigations, leverage a White House meeting, and $391 million in taxpayer dollars. That's what we're investigating.
Republicans say maybe that's all bad, but it's not impeachable.
Well, that's not America either if we allow that to happen.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, that's
please.
A little different. If it's just not America, who cares? Yeah,
this has been around. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He really doesn't even understand basic civics.
No.
He's a congressman who thinks that these ambassadors are like Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, this is kind of the way I saw this yesterday with the two witnesses who were chosen, an ambassador, a temporary ambassador, acting ambassador, and the deputy assistant to the. This is like if you're the deputy assistant to the. What the hell was his title now, Kent?
He's the State Department head.
Yeah, but he's like deputy assistant. What is deputy assistant? Do you get coffee at that level, or what exactly is the deputy of the assistant?
No, you're the guy who gets to assign who gets the coffee.
Ah, so you're above most. All right. So these are career.
Yes, and this guy, by the way, the Ukrainian guy, is a career.
Yeah,
and that is not a plum ambassadorship by any means. You said that earlier. You suggested it. The big donors, they get England, France,
Rome,
the Vatican's choice. The Vatican's like choice, and then there's
Japan. Japan is a good one.
Italy would be good.
Yeah,
Russia's probably one that you might want to, but this tends to be a spook.
Singapore would be nice.
Singapore would be good. I'd say Hong Kong would be fun.
I'd take Australia. I'd take that.
China's probably a plum job, but you probably have to be CIA again.
Yeah, well, China, as you know, is asshole.
Yeah. Japan for sure.
Yeah. All right, take us into the actual meeting, John.
Well, I was going to play. I had a Schiff clip where he comes on. He starts off.
Oh, first of all, can I make an observation? Is this just that I'm only seeing it now? But Schiff's chair, which is the chairman chair, is bigger than all the rest.
Oh yeah, it's a big giant chair. Is
that always that way for all of the chair people?
I believe so.
Okay.
But I could be wrong because this was really noticeable. I noticed it too, and thinking on it, I had to consider the fact that maybe this isn't always the case, because why would I notice this so much?
Yeah, I noticed the same thing.
You know what I mean?
The chair is really big. How come I haven't seen this before?
Huge monster chair. And so,
it really is significantly bigger.
So he had his opening that went on forever, and how important all this is. Then Nunes comes on, and he does his opening, which is a little more reasonable. And I thought, and Nunes, this was long too, but I thought the beginning of the Nunes opening, or I call it the opening of the opening, I thought it really summarized what's going on. I think he's right.
In a July open hearing of this committee following publication of the Mueller report, the Democrats engaged in a last-ditch effort to convince the American people that President Trump is a Russian agent. That hearing was the pivotal finale of a 3-year-long operation by the Democrats, the corrupt media, and partisan bureaucrats to overturn the results of the 2016 election. After the spectacular implosion of their Russia hoax on July 24th, in which they spent years denouncing any Republican who ever shook hands with a Russian, on July 25th, they turned on a dime and now claim the real malfeasance is Republicans' dealings with Ukraine. In the blink of an eye, we're asked to simply forget about Democrats on this committee, falsely claiming they had more than circumstantial evidence of collusion between President Trump and Russians. We should forget about them reading fabrications of Trump-Russia collusion from the Steele dossier into the congressional record. We should also forget about them trying to obtain nude pictures of Trump from Russian pranksters who pretended to be Ukrainian officials.
Yeah, well, that was the radio DJs, right, who called up Schiff.
Yeah,
that was a great bit.
We should forget about them leaking a false story to CNN while he was still testifying to our committee, claiming that Donald Trump Jr. was colluding with WikiLeaks. And forget about countless other deceptions, large and small, that make them the last people on earth with the credibility to hurl more preposterous accusations at their political opponents. And yet now, here we are. We're supposed to take these people at face value when they trot out a new batch of allegations. But anyone familiar with the Democrats' scorched earth war against President Trump would not be surprised to see all the typical signs that this is a carefully orchestrated media smear campaign.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you have that, but at a certain point he said, you're now in the low rent sequel to the Mueller movie, and now you're the leading roles in this piece of crap. It was really disappointing. I was expecting at least some fireworks, but they had poorly cast actors. there was no script, or at least there was a script, but not with a plot that made any sense. It was just the tension arc was all wrong. There was nothing. The only thing I liked was having professional lawyers whose name is counsel. Yeah, the little name sign there. I'm just counsel. Then that guy for the Republicans, he looked like a horrible asshole. A shark, man. I like that. Those guys, that's at least that's some courtroom questioning that felt a little good. Bum, and then you could even see the guy getting a little flustered as he's, bopping him back.
It was still
shaking him like a rag. No, none of it was. It was a very bad television show.
Yeah, and to put it on anything besides C-SPAN 3.
Yeah, that was telling. That was telling. That was when they put it on C-SPAN 3. That even when C-SPAN's not even making it prime time, you know you've got a dud.
So here's the newness in his unanswered questions. I thought this was kind of poignant. It kind of made some sense. It was part of his opening, and I want to play it.
We should not hold any hearings at all until we get answers to 3 crucial questions the Democrats are determined to avoid asking.
Number 1, who killed Jeffrey Epstein?
What is the full extent of the Democrats' prior coordination with the whistleblower? And who else did the whistleblower coordinate this effort with? Second, what is the full extent of Ukraine's election meddling against the Trump campaign? And third, why did Burisma hire Hunter Biden? And what did he do for them? And did his position affect any U.S. government actions under the Obama administration? These questions will remain outstanding because Republicans were denied the right to call witnesses that know these answers.
Meh. No.
So the only
cares.
good clip I have, because I couldn't find, I listened, I tried, I must have gotten by me because I probably conked out more than once trying to listen to this thing.
Yeah.
Was the squid pro quo that apparently the ambassador said there's no squid pro quo.
Where is that?
And if anyone ever finds that, we'll take it and use it.
Oh, you don't have that clip. I don't have it either. I thought you had it.
I couldn't find it. I tried and tried.
Oh,
I knew
man, because I heard it, and then you tweeted like, "Oh, the only thing is squid pro." Oh no, the newsletter. Is this squid? I'm like, oh, good, he's got the squid pro quo clip, and I
never said I had it. I knew of it.
Yeah, but what kind of what? If you hear something like this, if you hear this, you must clip.
I didn't hear it. I only heard of it.
Oh, you didn't hear it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, in that case.
When I went to go find it, I fell asleep probably most of the time. And then I couldn't hear it. And so I never got it. So if anybody has it, we'll run it later. But I do have this. Somebody found this little gem and you had to hear it. You hear it in here. Here's a little faux pas, some stupidity. Here is Swalwell. He grills everybody by you a never Trumper, you a never Trumper, you a never Trumper. It's like Oprah. And you're a never Trumper, and you're a never Trumper.
Just about an hour before the two of you sat down to testify today, the president tweeted multiple times about this hearing, and he put in all caps, never Trumpers. Mr. Kent, are you a never Trumper?
I am a career non-professional who serves whatever president is duly elected and carries out the foreign policies of that president.
I am an android. I am a robot. I will do as I am told.
Elected and carries out the foreign policies of that president in the United States, and I've done that for 27 years for 3 Republican presidents and 2 Democrat presidents.
Ambassador Taylor, are you a never Trumper?
No, sir.
Well, what was wrong with that?
He says instead of saying I'm a career nonpartisan.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
He says I'm a career non-professional.
Oh, just about an hour before the two of you sat down to testify today, the president tweeted multiple times about this hearing, and he put in all caps, never Trumpers. Mr. Kent, are you a never Trumper?
I am a career non-professional who serves whatever president is duly elected.
I do have the ISO.
Oh, great catch, an ISO.
I am a career non-professional.
Yeah, no, end of show. Boom, done. Nailed it.
Well, I got other ISOs to consider.
Oh, really? Well, we'll wait. When they're appropriate, I'd love to hear them. But so far, it's top of the list.
Yes, well, it's the only one.
Ambassador.
But yeah, I'm a career non-professional. What is the what?
Ambassador Taylor.
That was like a robotic speech you nailed, and that's why he made that gaffe, and he just plowed right through it.
Yeah.
And, he's obviously a never Trumper because he wouldn't deny it.
I'm giving you a borderline for that, actually. That's deserved. Deserved.
That's one of our producers, actually.
Yeah, well, come on. You and I don't do any work. We just sit here and look at email and watch TV. Everybody knows it. Everybody else does all the work. It's work. Ambassador Taylor slipped up. Another, and this may be a theme today. The truth wants to come out once again.
My question, Ambassador Taylor, the president conditioning security assistance on an investigation into his political opponent prior to this administration, is this something we would do all the time?
No, sir.
Why not?
We condition assistance on issues that will improve our foreign policy, serve our foreign policy, ensure that taxpayers' money is well spent. Those are and those conditions are either coming from the Congress or from policy decisions stemming from authority Congress has given us to make sure that the taxpayers' money is well spent, or that the receiving country takes the actions in our national.
That's what's happening. That they're sending money to companies.
Yeah, the receiving company.
And you know that it's just, that's exactly what's going on. How does that get
in your brain unless that's what's going on?
Yeah. And then this one was, I thought this was interesting because it's a legal thing. And as you know, I'm taking the bar next month. So I'm always interested in these types of legal opinions.
And
this is Representative Quigley. Quigley, hold on, let me rewind Quigley for a second.
And to close primer on hearsay, I think the American public needs to be reminded that countless people have been convicted on hearsay because the courts have routinely allowed and created needed exceptions to hearsay. Hearsay can be much better evidence than direct, as we have learned in painful instances, and it's certainly valid in this instance.
Well, gentlemen, yield because none of those exceptions would apply to this testimony.
Now, did you understand any of this about hearsay being used and sometimes being much more powerful than direct evidence?
Well, I heard what he said, and what he was saying is because these two witnesses were both basing everything on hearsay, and later it turns out, at least according to one source I saw on Twitter, so I haven't confirmed this, but apparently the ambassador later revealed that most of his information came from the New York Times.
So another clip that I was going to get, but figured you had it because you tweeted. I'm unfollowing you. I'm blocking. I'm going to block you. No, I'm going to block. Yeah, but when you when you actually commented on it, I'm like, oh, he's got that clip too. I'm making an ass out of myself.
When you assume,
yes, I'm making an ass out of myself.
Ass out of you and me.
I agree. I have learned my lesson.
Now, so that which is a possibility. That he just got all this stuff from the New York Times. Because what else?
He actually said, he said this in the hearing. He said, I read it in the New York Times.
So I think what you got was I pointed out that this is an old spook trick.
Yes.
Is where you plant something in a newspaper, usually overseas, but you can do it in the United States now. You plant some bogus story in the New York Times with sources, according to sources.
People with knowledge of the situation.
And you put that in there. This guy reads the New York Times. He reads the New York Times. They grill him about it at the hearing. He says, yeah, well, the way I heard it, Trump was out to get this guy.
Yeah, and then he says he read it in the New York Times.
He never says he read it in the New York Times. Yes, he does. Testimony. Once in a while. Yeah, he did once in a while. But most of his testimony, if it all came from the New York Times, he's not going to say, well, according to the New York Times, he's just going to say what he thinks. Mm-hmm. And then the New York Times picks it up and says, it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Which is the old spook trick.
Exactly. Then they say, see, confirmed, he said it. He said what, but they forget to mention that he read it in their newspaper.
Yeah, it's an old trick, and it works well, and the people fall for it, and nobody's the wiser. So it came up in the conversation that there was this is all secondhand information. That he never heard this from Trump. He never heard this from anybody at all.
No,
he read it someplace. And so then this guy comes out, the clip you have comes out and starts defending hearsay.
Yeah.
But he makes the mistake of saying hearsay is better.
Yeah. It's better.
Direct.
It's
which
much
is
better.
never true.
It's much better. It's much better. What do you know? Are you up there? Do you have a chair? A big chair? No. Stupid citizen, be quiet. The current Democratic nominee for the presidential race, Joseph Biden, was asked to provide some reaction. We're not sure. Well, did he watch? Did he not watch? Let's hear what. And these are actual journalists who are querying. I think if you listen to, and I think it's only two women that I can hear, they sound like they really feel sad for Joe. You'll hear it.
Did you watch today? Can we get a quick reaction, Mr. Biden? Did you watch today?
I didn't get to see any, but I heard it was pretty devastating for the president.
How so?
You saw it. You know how so.
Okay.
So the question, what did you think? Well, I didn't see it. I heard it was pretty devastating. How so? Well, you watched it. You know why. And then they just go,
Yeah,
that's it.
Pathetic.
They just melt
You're
away.
Right. They sound like, oh, poor guy's insane.
Yes.
Or he's senile.
Yeah, like, wow.
It's like their old senile uncle.
Because clearly he's full of crap. Clearly he has no idea. He just said, oh, well, it's pretty devastating. Which everyone knows it wasn't devastating, whatever you took away from it.
Well, there was a Dimension B split here because I was reading.
I went back and forth.
I follow a number of people, the head of the DNC, and there's a bunch of these Democrats, and you read their tweets. It's like, oh, the president's toast. He was ruined by this guy's testimony.
Okay, all right. Well, then you're reading what Joe's reading. Then I understand his response.
Joe's reading the same thing I'm reading, and
but
so that's the impression you get.
But at least
devastating.
But at least you said, well, I read some tweets. It was devastating. Joe doesn't even go that far. He's just like, hey, you watched, didn't you? Stupid journalist. And then I caught this
nightmare of tweets be over.
And then I caught this on One America News, of all places, with the presenter that I'm not particularly a fan of, the blonde,
Blondie,
kind of like the low rent Tommy Lahren. That's the way I look at her. Just talking as a TV executive, people, okay? And she has some dude on, and he's done a Freedom of Information Act request for anything the State Department might have regarding Hunter Biden, and it turns out, yes. There is something that the State Department has. It's a request.
All right, Josh, talk to me about this. We can show this email on the screen, by the way. These are emails obtained using FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, that show lobbyists for Burisma wanting to get in contact with the Obama administration using Hunter Biden's name. Isn't this exactly what the Bidens have denied happened?
The short answer to that, Liz, is yes. I mean, FOIA is a hell of a drug. FOIA litigation in the federal courts is oftentimes crazy just because of what it ends up divulging. And this is no different than that. The timeline here is pretty crazy. It looks like 1 month before Joe Biden pressured Ukraine to fire this prosecutor who was looking into Burisma, literally 1 month before that, Burisma was in communication with the U.S. State Department trying to get a meeting, and they were expressly name-dropping Hunter Biden as a reason to get that meeting.
Not only is everything that you just said true, not only did they name-drop Hunter Biden to try to get a meeting with the Obama administration State Department, they expressly said they wanted to talk about corruption investigations into Burisma. Exactly what Joe Biden ended up doing for them in that video that we've all seen 100 times, where he brags about a quid pro quo, getting, the Ukrainian president to fire the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma, the company on which his son sat on a board. That's what this email expressed, that the lobbyist said that's what they wanted to talk about.
So I'll explain what she said without the yelling. But it's really hurts my head.
Am I yelling?
It has nothing to do with how she looks. It's just the yelling. So there's under the freedom.
Her presentation skills are not. You're right, and she's not. She should back off.
Yeah, just tone it down 80%. You'd be fine.
Yeah,
and blink. Blink once.
Some shots of that Jambo stuff would probably help.
that Jambo stuff will do it to her. Yeah. But, so this FOIA request shows that Burisma did indeed say, "Hey, we want a meeting with regarding this prosecutor that you guys want to that we think we should get rid of." And by the way, Hunter Biden's on our board. We have other prominent board members, and that's, I believe, in the timeline. A day or two before Joe did the famous, "Hey, remove that prosecutor." That seems, at least to me, it seems like that's something someone could jump on. But no, it's on One America News. That's worse than a podcast. That's nothing.
Oh, yeah. It's basically a video podcast. Let's face it.
Yeah. So I don't know. These are just little data points. I'm sure everybody has some opinion about everything, but it's just boring. It's a bad show and a waste of time. Not that we're unhappy doing it, because that is what we do, so you don't have to. But, there was really nothing in it. It was nudnik, senseless. Just no story. These things are all show anyway. Bring Norman Lear in if you have to. Bring somebody in to produce this for you. Get a rundown.